big data guy. I never thought I'd become a data nerd, but over the years I've become a data nerd. And
Yeah.
one of the things that you have that I think is interesting, there's so many good things. When you have all that data that you guys have, you literally my philosophy is always, if you have enough data about the past, you can predict the future.
Yeah.
So how can we take the lessons that the data has taught us from other people and use that to keep us from making those mistakes today? And so a lot of people not familiar or confident in what's going to be happening with the market, they're not really sure what they should be doing with their portfolio right now. So for you guys, is there any data you've been seeing that somebody should track or look at that might tell them if they're in a position that maybe it's a good time to sell their property, refinance their property, or maybe just totally abandon the property and change strategies?
Yeah, yeah. So I think some of the top ones are things like your P&L by property. I think is really, really important. I think it's something that a lot of people do around like tax time, but I think is like operationally helpful. I think of this the same way for myself and Rent Ready. Like as we've grown, I've built out dashboards that automatically update for me, and I'm not looking at this once a year when we're doing taxes or even once a month when we're doing reviews as a team. This is something I'm looking at every day. Looking at your cash flow, looking at your profit and loss by property, it will give you insights into being able to understand, are you having a bunch of maintenance issues on some particular unit that, I think a lot of time when something goes wrong in a unit, there's like a quick fix, and then there's something that fixes the underlying issue. And if you keep track of what's going wrong in a structured way, you can understand that, hey, I keep having issues in like unit A that I've had to fix the toilet in this unit or the fridge in this unit, 3 times over the past couple of years. And like buying a new fridge doesn't make sense when I have to fix it once over a long period, and it's fine. But if it keeps recurring and I keep paying for somebody to go back and fix that over and over and over, it would actually improve my cash flow if I actually just replaced that thing. And so being able to understand that, I think is really important. Being able to look around and see if there's ways that you can actually save money, like appealing on your taxes or doing cost segregation studies or other things like that. There's ways that you can actually reduce some of your costs, and ultimately that improves your ability to be profitable on the unit. And I think there's also some, I was a big fan of like game theory. I took a lot of it in college and really, really enjoyed it. And there's this idea of like zero sum games. I think one of those examples is like increased rent, and it's like good for the landlord and bad for the tenant as long as the tenant stays, right? But I think there's these things called positive sum games where it actually benefits both people. And I think there's some really cool things that we found looking at the data. And it started with this hypothesis, this belief that like certain things would actually make a tenant pay on time more often, which would create steadier cash flow for the landlord, which would mean they would miss their mortgage payment less and be more profitable, or have more available cash when something went wrong, so they didn't have to draw against a higher interest loan. And so we've actually been able to tie that back to real data on the platform and see that that's the reality. A couple of those two that come to mind are one that honestly costs no money for anybody to do, but I think is underutilized, is reminding your tenant to pay rent. We found that tenants without a reminder are 27% more likely to not pay rent on time. And you would imagine that like if you have the money, you're going to pay rent on time. In reality, 27% less likely to pay rent on time if they don't just get a reminder, a hey, hello, how's it going, Nick? Hope your day's going great. By the way, rent's due today, rent's due tomorrow, whatever it is. You can automate that. Like that's our approach to say like, hey, why don't we just set it up on schedule and do it for you? But honestly, like you just text your tenant, you email your tenant, notify them some sort of way. It actually does make a difference. And the other one is reporting that rent, which, initially we believed that it would help tenants based on anecdotally having these conversations with people. But it's been really fun years later to see that not only did it matter in COVID, but holding constant that same tenant, the same quality of tenant, credit score. Like I think a lot of people have this view that, the quality of the tenant is driven by the screening up front. And while some of that is true, we're actually finding that quite a bit of it is that like people can be influenced. And you can imagine that, like even in your own life, like around different people or around different jobs, like you want to do better, you want to try harder, you want to be a better person because of the people you're around. And credit boosting is one of those where we've actually been able to improve a tenant's likelihood to pay rent on time by about 13%. Just because they have the ability to get credit for it. It's not this transactional, I'm paying rent anymore, but it's like, actually, this landlord is helping me. Like this person's choosing not just to, like do something for their unit, but like actually to help me grow in my own life. And I think that creates this really like beautiful relationship where people actually do improve your cash flow. Like it actually helps the bottom line, but it's in a way self-motivated to also help them, get further in life.